Okay. Excellent. How is their audio? How is their audio? All right. Let's give everyone a minute. Get in here. Stream is healthy, it says. So it says. We'll get on in here, everybody, before we get started. Give everyone a minute to get in here. Give everyone a good second to get on in here. How you guys doing tonight? Get in on the chat. Tell me how you guys are doing tonight. You guys excited for the big EPSTEIN BANNON collab? Just give it a couple minutes and we'll get started. Let people get in here. We'll start in a second. How you guys doing tonight? What have you guys been up to? It's been, I don't know, like a week or so since I streamed, right? 2 weeks? I don't remember. I'm gonna get more in the habit of doing this. All right, we got a few people getting in here. All right, guess we'll start recording now. All right, we are going. We are live. We're going. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing? We are reacting, of course, to the Jeffrey Epstein, Steve Bannon interview. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. This is like the second half of it. I already watched like a lot of it. So this is like where he's in a black shirt. He's in like the first half. He's in like a white shirt, so you can tell what part you're in. So let's get straight into it.
When did you first start to get nervous? Understanding Bill Clinton in all this. Did you change glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
I changed shirt.
I saw that black.
Are you okay with the?
Yeah, great. I think we're gonna have all kinds of changes.
I'm experimenting.
Yeah.
Okay.
When did you get a feeling? Did you ever anticipate before it happened something like 2008 could happen?
No.
How could that be?
Because it's the word I can beat it to death. Is that it's very much like would I anticipate I'll have a heart attack tomorrow? Unlikely.
Was 2008 a heart attack or a stroke? Debilitating.
It's a better. I don't. It was both. But why was it both? Because in fact, as I said, the blood was getting dried up in the system, and the head, which is sort of the central bank, wasn't working. So to some extent, it was a combination. It was a crisis.
Did you see that building up over time?
It's always been lurking in the background. I mean, if you have an older parent, would you say it's possible? Did you anticipate him having the heart attack today? No, you hope things are going to go better and maybe they'll fix it up.
He's talking about the 2008 financial crisis, by the way, for you all that are just joining.
The system was getting too complex, and it wasn't based on derivatives, because what people keep forgetting, and as I was just explaining, Wall Street, and in many professions, including Wall Street makes it sound complicated. They don't want the little guy to understand what they do, because they make so much money, and they don't do very much.
This is a big thing we keep seeing in the emails pop up over and over again. It seems that Jeffrey waxes to friends a lot in the emails about how we don't do anything, how if the Goyim knew what we did to make our money, then they would revolt. The fact that they don't know, like, for instance, he goes on about shipping futures, why shorting shipping futures is so ridiculous. And it's a kind of funny exchange because he talks about let the Goyim live in the real world. I mean, it's completely different faces from what you see in this interview from what he's actually like in private.
So they couch it in words like derivative and stock options and commodity futures and different types of contracts. It's all fairly, everyone is capable of understanding it.
Oh my god, dude, the Jewish accent is so thick. It's all failure. Oh my god.
It is not complicated. But Wall Street, because they make so much money from doing fairly simple things, needs to make it more complicated than it really is.
We had a very big recession in the early 90s based upon real estate and Japan basically imploding.
Let's again,
Okay.
you had a recession in the 90s.
You didn't know Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish? I mean, it's in the name, bro. Epstein. It's extremely Jewish. Yeah, I mean, he's even more beyond Jewish than what the public was really like even told. I mean, there's pictures where he's got the entire Talmud behind him.
I don't know what it's based upon. It's always interesting to look back and say, separate from there's certain triggers, like in the 70s there was a...
What do you think it was based upon, the 90s downturn? It's clearly there was a huge downturn.
No, I know there was a downturn. That's what I know for sure.
That's a fact.
That's all. Everything else is sort of speculation about why did he have that?
I understand that, but there's some speculation that has 0% probability of being true, and there's others that have 90%. In the range, when you look at the range of alternatives of what could have caused it in 90, and what I'm trying to do is get you all the way up to 2008. Look, you're the smartest guy in the room, right? You know that. Do you think there's anybody in the world today?
Oops, this is going to be a bad question.
No, but do you think anybody in the world today, the Alan Greenspans, the Bernankes, is there any central banker you know, any partner of any Wall Street firm, any guy running a trading desk, and I would take it that would be, or anybody at a Larry Fink at BlackRock, Steve Schwartzman at Blackstone, the top 100 financial guys, and let's throw in a couple of Nobel economists, and let's throw in the best professors at Wharton, at Harvard, at Stanford. Do you think that there's anybody that understands money or understands the world's financial system as good as you?
Oh my god, this is the same question he gets all the time. It's actually crazy. Bad guy, just admit Big Epstein didn't invite you. Yeah, bro, you didn't get invited to Big Stein's island. That's the meme. Despite the nombre, how you can visually profile that. Yeah, I mean, he looks very Jewish. Physiognomy.
But it doesn't come to the top of the head.
No.
Okay, fine. Now that I've gotten that, let's go back to 1990.
Interrupting the Big Steen, bro. What the hell?
In that arc from the fall of the Berlin Wall to 2008.
Good.
We started with the implosion in Tokyo of the Japanese economy, Japanese financial markets. We had the huge run-up in internet stocks, right? We had the implosion of that in 2000. The bankruptcy of Drexel Burnham in 90. Implosion of Japan, huge run-up in equity markets for the internet, implosion of the internet in 2000, 10 years later roughly. And then this run-up through the Iraq War and all that, the run-up to 2008. Every 10 years, it seems like, we're in some sort of 10 years before the 1990s was the 70s.
You sound like an astrologer.
Okay.
You sound like an astrologer. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Epstein keeps getting asked the same question in like every interview that I've ever seen him in, where they're like, wow, you know everything about money. And then he responds where he's like, yeah, actually, no one really understands money that well. And then when you see the private emails, he's like, only Jews understand money.
And not a financial
person. You're supposed to be a mathematician. It just seems to me a pattern of every 10 years.
That's misleading. That's exactly right. Because people like to see patterns. People like to see patterns where there are none.
So a pattern of a financial crisis every 10 years is just in my mind.
Yes.
Long-term capital that had to be bailed out back in the late 90s when everybody panicked. And that wasn't that bailout today would look small, and it was $5 billion or was $30 billion.
Businesses fail all the time.
But long-term capital, the Federal Reserve stepped in.
But I'm saying people go bad. Things go bad all the time.
Yes, you're correct. The audience is watching this, the little guys, they go bankrupt all the time and nobody gives a shit. You know why? They're a little guy. But when long-term capital management goes bankrupt, or Bear Stearns goes bankrupt, or Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt, people care because
it's an unfair characterization.
Why do you say that?
Because again, it's the complexity of the situation. If you think about you have a complex system. You have your body. Now, in fact, the little guy is my finger. This is.
And Bear Stearns is your heart.
That's correct. The banking system is my heart.
Banking system is my heart. Said it with the most Manhattan Jewish accent you could possibly say it. I mean, he lives up to this. Like, he's a total caricature. There's one thing you can learn from reading the Epstein files, that he's a total caricature. I prefer your breakdowns over Purge File. Not trying to hate on creators, just sharing my opinion. Keep it up, brother. Yeah, no, I mean, feel free to hate on that guy. He sells like knockoff America First merch, and I don't really care about I mean, other creators, I don't really think about, to be honest.
The system, I can't risk my because remember,
Okay,
it's not
so
only.
I don't like hate on other creators either. It's just Purge File. He's like selling knockoff American First merch, and I think that's whack.
You haven't been able to name.
Hang on.
You haven't.
What,
hang on. No, hang.
I was trying to hang. I wanted to see if the hang on worked.
No.
It didn't
You haven't
work.
been able. You're not good enough yet. You're like junior wizard trying to do it. You haven't.
Yes.
I'll say, since we can't name another guy that's as good as you. Now, there may be a couple out there. You're not bragging. You're humble. It had to be sometime. Please tell me there was some time before you went to jail and basically got cut off from daily information in the summer of 2008 that you started to get very nervous that this complex system, that something was deeply wrong.
Okay, first, let's go back. When I say no one understands the system better than I do, it doesn't mean I
You always
understand.
sound like a doctor. You're afraid he's going to get sued for giving a thing.
Yes,
You're not
no,
taking
no.
on any liability. There's no contingent liability here for your answers.
No. But the word understand is the problem.
Okay.
I don't understand the system. So I don't understand the financial
Will you
system.
please stop?
Exactly. It's that complicated. Like fractional banking. Like he says in the earlier part of the interview, and we'll go back and we'll react to the first part of the interview. You can see the timestamp here. We'll go back and review that. Where he talks about how the average person wouldn't believe you if you explain fractional banking to them. And that's the way that our system actually works, is that if you have $1, you can actually lend out 9 more. This proves the conspiracy theorists were right along. I mean, to a certain extent, not really, to be honest. I mean, what, the QAnon people? Not really. There's a lot of fake stuff thrown into the Epstein files that have been like released. A lot, 6 million files. You think there's no intentional misinformation thrown into there?
You cannot sit here and tell me.
No.
But yeah, I mean, like most of the fringe people, I mean, I would say the people that were talking about Jews, actually, because what we see mostly from the emails, I gotta say, it's a lot of Jewish supremacy. I mean, the amount of times he calls people goyim, it's like almost every email he calls somebody a stupid goy, or he chastises another Jewish person for behaving like a goy. It's like his favorite word, which is kind of like the funniest part of the emails. It's just like goy is like the new N-word.
We just went through, I'll go through again, the hedge fund managers, the money managers, the central bankers, the commercial bankers, the heads of the investment banks, the heads of all the trading desks, the top economists, and I'll throw in the business school lecturers at Stanford. Of all the top 200, 250, you can't name at the top of your head the guys are at least at your level. You have to understand it somewhat.
No. Sorry. We all don't understand it. No one understands it. It's a miracle.
And this is what's such a mindfuck about money, is that even the people that are considered, oh, this guy's like a guru on money, like he knows everything about money. He's like, in reality, when you hear him talk on these emails, he goes, no, only Jews understand money.
It's that's part of the problem. It's impossible to understand. That word understand simply means if this happens here, that will happen there. It's predictable. Understanding means it's predictable. It's not predictable. That's the problem. In complex systems, that was the fascination. Is there a way to tease out some level of predictability?
So even
No, in fact, you would ask the question. It's a great question, which was it a stroke or a heart attack? Now, most people don't know that before they were going to have a stroke, they had a stroke. They just have a stroke. Do they understand why? In hindsight, you go back and you can make lots of explanations. It might sound good, and if you're talking to the working man, you're using language that he'll never understand. It's complex. So he, just like going to his doctor, he says he has a gastrointestinal problem, or he has diverticulitis, as opposed to saying, you had a stomach ache, you ate bad food. people don't like to say it in normal, everyman terms. The system had a stroke, and we don't know why.
But you just, okay. Hard work.
Isn't that so crazy, though, that somebody like this could be like, yeah, the system had a stroke and we don't know why? I mean, I think he's absolutely putting it on for what he perceives to be just another goy. I think he thinks Steve Bannon is a smart one. Yeah, because Steve Bannon is clearly, intelligent. But he's putting it on to be like, well, no one understands money, Steve. Come on. And it's like, no, dude, you in your heart of hearts, you say to your other Jews, you're like, no, we control the entire system. Oh, it's only us who understand fully how this thing works.
Working people. And there's a great social benefit, would you not agree, with having people having ownership in the system?
When you say ownership in the system, it doesn't mean...
Let's start over.
Okay.
Yeah. So flip over your phone too, because
yes.
I don't want to hear on this.
Yeah.
On your phone. So maybe flip it down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what the fuck comes up with that phone?
That's correct.
We don't want to send you...
KSA.
I can't not believe I've got the magic moment when you're in fucking prison or jail, wherever the fuck it is.
It's
in
crazy.
Solitary.
Now, there's a funny part to that we missed, which is said...
go ahead, tell it.
The funny part is what you asked me...
Is there anything funnier than that?
No.
For black humor, it's
I don't make any black comments, sorry.
I don't make any black comments.
You asked me what I was wearing.
That's right. You're too wrapped up in the Me Too movement.
Yes. So I was wearing a...
That's how Steve Bannon couched it. You're too wrapped up in the Me Too movement. Damn. I mean...
brown...
crazy.
...jumper and a brown pair of pants given to me by the jail with the word trustee on the back.
Because you had qualified to be a trustee?
Well, the funny part was it was spelled Trusty. So I wasn't really sure. I'd been a trustee in many different operations, but it was the first time it was actually printed on my back and spelled incorrectly.
Probably had a higher level of being a trustee at that than you had at all the boards that you were trustees, right?
Yes, right, because the trustee meant you get two devices to clean your toilet as opposed to one.
Yeah, but it also meant that you had some sort of personal fiduciary own responsibility for oneself, right?
In the jail? You mean?
Well, that's what being a trustee is. That's where they give you two.
Yes, you get two cleaners. I was a trustee in the jail because I was able to teach some of the kids to help them get their GED. So that's how they gave me a trustee job.
He was teaching kids in jail? What is that? What the hell? How is he teaching kids in jail?
There's no time. I got to go back to this because I'm like a dog with a bone in this thing.
Yes.
You can't.
He was in juvie?
There's something deeply fucked up with you.
I guess, yeah.
At least something.
Well, we know there are things deeply fucked up with this. You will get through in this film,
Right.
But you cannot possibly sit there knowing that you came from nowhere, knowing that you went to the very top of what is considered outside of science and maybe physics, the thing people most admire because it's like alchemy, understanding high finance. To sit there in what will be the defining financial...
It's AI, bro. That's so stupid.
...crisis...
This is real.
...of our time. Like Black Friday or Black Monday, whatever it was, in the Great Depression. And be there at that exact moment. Triggered in part by a firm that you used to be a partner in.
I think he's glazing him just to get information out of him, to be honest.
Intimately well.
Like, how else do you talk? Epstein's the kind of narcissist where you have to, like, press his buttons, where of like, oh, I'm like the finance guy. I know stuff about money.
And created much of your initial net worth because of. And know that you couldn't, someone who lives on a phone, right?
Yes.
Because you do live on a phone, right?
Correct.
You had to collect calls. You cannot tell me sometime during that day you did not have that conversation with yourself of how the fuck did I do this to myself to put myself in West Palm Beach in a 6x9 cell with a metal fucking bed with a brown shirt that said trustee spelled wrong.
So did I find it amazing that I was there? That's a
Not
better...
amazing, and I don't want to say it's not funny. Oh, I thought
I wasn't funny.
Right.
But
not amazing.
It was incredible.
Incredible in what way?
This
Incredible, like, how do I do this to myself?
No. It's as incredible as me sitting here in this house.
Yeah, I get what he's trying to say. He's not looking at it like he is more thinking of it like he is like perplexed. He's interested that he was in jail. You know, Epstein's sitting back and he's going, "Isn't it interesting that I ended up in prison?" It's a really weird kind of vibe from this guy. It gives like total psychopath vibes in a way. Were people talking about this interview like a year ago and asked for Bannon to post it? AI, LOL. Yeah, I know AI. People are going to say it's AI like no matter what these days. Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing about this a year ago.
They're both just two sides of the coin. That's how I think about it. That my life today is incredible.
Do you consider yourself a stoic?
No, I consider myself a hermit. Stoics are not very happy.
Being a hermit then, being in that 6x9 cell, being in the cell, qua the cell was not the problem, right?
Correct.
What was the problem?
Eating the almond joy bars.
Because you couldn't eat the food.
No, right. And but
yeah, this is the original one. I have seen clips where people have altered it. This is the original from the actual government Epstein files posted to X on AF Post. I heard this was practice for what had to be a 60-minute interview that never happened. No, this is the real interview. They actually sat down and did this.
My life is.
Did that ever strike you that I can't eat the food because somebody might have done something to it?
It just feels weird because we're not used to hearing Epstein speak, and so I think a lot of people immediately, as soon as they hear his voice, they go, "Oh my God!" Just like the Jewish like auralessness. And, you know, you'd expect him to have more aura after all the hype. But there's so little before this of him actually speaking. People are like, oh, well, you know, I thought he would sound cooler. Now he just talks like, ugh. It's like, ugh.
I got to live off an almond joy bar, one a day or two a day or whatever. How many ever sneak in a day?
No sneaking in.
Your one almond joy bar, it did not hit you at some time? How the fuck did I do this?
No.
Let's go back to the spring of 2008. Were you so wrapped up in your personal...
I mean, total sociopath, dude. Like, complete narcissist. He's, like, not even self-reflecting enough to take the time and be like, man, isn't it fucked up? No, he's just like, no, it's just interesting I'm in jail.
Issues at the time, you were not spending enough time on the financial markets, or were you deeply involved in the financial markets like you normally were?
No, I was involved.
So we're saying that the smartest guy in the room didn't see it coming.
No, of course
not.
The
bankruptcy of Bear Stearns, you just thought was a Bear Stearns problem. You didn't see it as systemic.
I know you keep harping on it, but it's not.
Because you're a mathematician and understands systems. It seems that anybody that understands that they had a systemic problem, you at least be the first on the early search radar. If you're not going to see it, then I'm really afraid. Because that means that I always assume there's at least a set of guys out there that have some sort of sense.
He's glazing him so hard, dude. Like, I get that you're trying to get stuff out of him, but at a certain point, it's like, this is beyond. Come on, Steve. I mean, I get it, I guess. He's really trying to get the interview, but there is this kind of animosity. There is this tension the entire interview between the two. And knowing well that in the files, you can read that Epstein was talking to other Jews in his emails and talking about how much he got essentially too much of a WASP vibe from Steve Bannon. He considered him basically like an enemy. And so if you can pick up on the tension here, there's a bunch of emails where Epstein is basically explaining to other Jews that Bannon is he's an enemy because he is Christian and he's white. And people use this sociopathic and narcissistic, don't off themselves proof enough. They think they can get their way out of anything. Absolutely, bro. This goes to show this is not the type of person to, off themselves,
That's something.
I don't think he's alive, to be honest. I don't really believe that part. I think I'm open to the possibility. If anyone's got evidence to show it, I mean, that he's like, I don't know, alive in Israel. If they got evidence, I'd believe it. But
imagine the guy who has a stroke or had the heart attack. When you ask him, did you feel funny the day before? He's going to tell you, yeah, I didn't feel right. Something was off. I didn't feel right. I had my My stomach was right. I felt a little dizzy. I felt a little weak. But if you asked him that day before, do you think you're going to have a heart attack tomorrow? He'd say, no, I just feel a little weak. I'm a little dizzy. My stomach hurts. So these systems, and that's the issue of complexity. What complexity says is that, in fact, everything seems to go along, and people have seen it. One of the great examples of complex systems is sand dunes. In fact, the sand keeps building up. People have seen some, and all of a sudden, one more sand drop, and all the sand starts running down the hills. That's the way I see the financial market.
When you fund it,
I mean, he's undeniably high IQ. No matter how much of very fucking a monster he is, he's definitely conniving. This guy definitely knows somewhat of what he's talking about, but there's also such a level of just pretentiousness, and he just gives off the most Chauncey vibes possible. Utter Chauncey. He's alive within all of us. I don't know, bro. Maybe within you. I totally get what you're saying, bro. Come on.
Santa Fe in the early 90s or late 80s?
I believe it was early 90s. I can get back to you.
But early 90s, Santa Fe was funded for the study of complexity theory.
It was studied math. So let's back up. So why did I buy a ranch in New Mexico in 1993? So that gives you some sense. So I would have funded it in 1990. Los Alamos, which was the high-energy lab up in New Mexico, was losing all its scientists.
And Los Alamos, it was where Oppenheimer and where a lot of the nuclear weapons program, the bomb.
That's where the Manhattan Project.
Manhattan Project was
yes,
as Los Alamos, and you bought your property out in New Mexico to be near that?
Yes, because the scientists were going to be, they cut the funding for high-energy physics. But the people who worked in Los Alamos would still be in the Santa Fe area.
They cut that because this was the Cold War dividend, right?
I don't remember exactly why. It was because, again, people thought that physics and high-energy physics really wasn't that important.
Yeah, so this ties into his entirely separate operation, guys. So his, PDF blackmail operation, that was almost completely separate from his transhumanist agenda. Basically, he was also not only doing this whole Israeli Mossad Black Op PDF stuff, on his island, multiple places, really. But he also had a completely separate operation that had to do with basically a search for immortality. This is real darkness in those eyes. The memes make you forget sometimes, LOL. Yeah, I mean, for sure. The memes definitely, in a way, I mean, if you could say that memes actually, I believe, maybe being able to laugh about something is a good thing, He's Jewier than I thought. He's even Jewier than I thought. Absolutely. That kills the aura, in my opinion. Is extreme Jewishness just kills the aura.
Because that was about nuclear weapons.
No, it was because they decided, which may be not right. This was the same time that Murray Gell-Mann came up with the term quark, Q-U-A-R-K. He picked it out of an old poem, the word quark. But it was mysterious. So they were starting to understand in the 90s that our world of the physics world, there was things that were just unexplainable. They called it strange things. You gave it a name. You gave it some characteristics. You called it had charm. It was one of the terms. It had a charm. It had a flavor.
Yeah, so he's talking about subatomic particles, right? And he's right about that physics breaks down. Like, our understanding of physics breaks down at the subatomic level.
Had a color. But
he also had his own MK Ultra program shit. Wanted to have twins and raise them in a different colored room. Super weird guy. Yeah, he was into, but these were all, my point was, these are more separate programs that he was doing. Like, this transhumanist thing was like out in the desert, middle of nowhere, like one of the most isolated places in mainland United States. But it was completely detached pretty much from his PDF blackmail operation.
no one, Mr. Bannon, understood what it was. Just like the financial system.
And you wanted to investigate that?
I wanted to see if we could build tools so others smarter than me could help investigate it.
And that was the beginning of your concept of the Santa Fe Institute?
Yes.
And Santa Fe Institute was founded to do study in this type of...
Can these areas of strange things be described by some form of mathematics?
So he's looking to poach scientists from Los Alamos research facility because it was closing down. That is crazy, bro. Those are literally like the people that Los Alamos, if you don't know, that's where the Manhattan Project was basically based out of.
So that's what I'm trying to get at. The foundational thought, the organizing principle of Santa Fe
Yes.
in the high physics lab at Los Alamos,
Right.
which had been the headquarters of Manhattan, and the Trinity Project, right, the bomb.
Yes.
So you're talking about the elite, the high priest
Of physics.
of physics.
Yes, sir.
Which high priest of physics, some subset of that is also mathematics. That's math.
Yes, they're both similar.
Project out. One of the tools you want to do is to make sure that in this complex system, the finance system, I'm doing a lot of this for philanthropy and a lot for the good of mankind, but also to be able to understand this complex system, the most complex outside of maybe our body, of the financial world.
Yes.
Did they create tools, or were you smarter in than the mid-aughts, 15 years later, than you had been then because of work that was done at Santa Fe?
No. It was great. But in fact, most of the money, most of my philanthropy in the area of can you describe things that appear to be unexplainable by mathematics, and can you fund people who have new ideas? And unfortunately, when someone thinks they've been able to, there was a man, Stuart Kaufman, when they think that, okay, I figured out how to be able to predict the unpredictable, what appears to other people to be unpredictable. But my system, in those days it was called genetic algorithms, can predict what things will happen, and they all want to make money. So they use their systems to try to figure out, they know they have figured out the way to make money because they figured out the unexplainable. They try, they go bankrupt, and we start again. So with a cold view, what I've come to realize is that the attempt to mathematize, formularize, or what in your prior work, to understand what really is, in today's world, still unexplainable, is impossible. They're miracles.
Your first head of Santa Fe was Christopher
Langdon, I think.
Langdon from Australia.
But Murray Gell-Mann was
Murray
really
Gell-Mann
was
was
the
the-
funder.
he
He
was-
was the
Yes,
rock.
Yes, he was the rock. He was a Nobel Prize winner?
Yes.
Yes, and a wonderful guy. He came out and helped us with the Biosphere 2 project. He came with Chris Langdon.
Yeah.
Chris Langdon was the
This world is a very ugly place. Yeah, but you try not to get black pilled about it. Try to look at this from an objective point of view.
operator.
It really helps. Try not to get like too depressed about this kind of stuff, man. Like I know it can be dark and stuff, but you really got to be able to detach from this stuff.
The day-to-day guy.
Chris was doing artificial life.
Right.
Murray tried to lead his own artificial life.
Yes. When Chris came to Biosphere 2 for the first big conference we had in 1994, he was one of the most impressive guys there among all the world's elite. Kew Gardens, the Lawrence Livermore lab, the labs at Sandia, all the major universities, Lamont Doherty, all the big Earth observatories, Woods Hole. What set Langdon apart, I thought, and the reason I invited Santa Fe to be part of it was
Yeah, I think they're talking about Chris Lang in the 200, the smartest guy in the world, or something like that. Yeah, I remember. I know. Yeah,
Langdon actually made a presentation.
this is all about transhumanism. Like he's trying to make like the smartest human possible, trying to live forever. He was researching black people so that he could be have the best motor control skills to be, run the fastest. Essentially, he wanted to create, essentially the absolute, superhuman.
That everything, and he was making this to scientists, a lot of marine biologists, a lot of people that are just beginning, Wally Broker and people who were just beginning the study of climate change, at that time called global warming, that he made this compelling presentation that everything's really mathematics.
Yes.
It's all just back to math. And you have to, all these experiments you do, you're not, one of the reasons they're not considered by the high priest in physics as being real experiments is that they don't have a mathematical basis to it, and everything has a mathematical basis to it. Langdon seemed like a radical visionary. What happened to that concept?
You go back 350 years. So you have Isaac Newton, you have Leibniz. From move forward, you have people like Heisenberg and Gödel, and what every one of those mathematicians and philosophers came to understand is that there's something with, there's numbers can describe certain things, approximate certain things. But in fact, trying to put measurements and numbers on other things that are really unexplainable is folly.
Is he talking about the supernatural here? I feel like that's what he's leaning into right now. I feel like he's trying to lead Bannon into talking about like the metaphysical, because that's really where a lot of this transhumanist guys, that's where a lot of transhumanists end up in. They start talking about, you know, the seen and the unseen, you know, that kind of stuff.
It's so 300 years ago they said that unexplainable realm was God. And people who
See, your boy was right. I knew exactly what he was on.
attempted, in fact, to explain the unexplainable, who said, yes, I understand the unexplainable, were charlatans, they were the occults, they were the astrologers, they were the con men.
Alchemist.
Yes. Well, no, alchemist was, in fact, they believed that there was a way to transmute one metal into another. In fact, they always wanted to see if they can create gold. There's no reason, if you think about it, they recognize that one metal is different than another metal because it has some additional pieces to it. It has additional neutrons or protons or electrons. So because they thought it was a machine, they believed it was a machine, if I can take 5 protons and add 5, that gives me 10, I should be able to get gold. Move everything around inside these systems, the molecules transmute one molecule into another, and if this molecule I've transmuted it into is gold, I'm a rich man. It's back to money.
Yeah, this is a major thing that people for thousands of years have tried to do, is transmutation of different metals, mainly silver or lead, into gold.
But there's something strange happens. Isaac Newton says, this is really weird. If I want to push a ball on the table, I have to touch it. Maybe I have to blow on it. But I actually have to push one side of the ball or the book to move that side. I'm pushing here, and obviously this thing is what appears to us humans to be solid, so it moves as one thing. But the only way to get something to move was to touch it or put a force against it. Okay, seems to make sense. Everybody has that experience. I want to lift a glass, I lift it. If I want to push a ball, I push it. If I want to pull a ball, I pull it. But he recognized when the ball fell off the table, it went in a different direction. How's that possible? Nobody pushed the ball down. And he says, this is crazy. Why did the ball go down? I didn't push it. I just let it go. So someone's pushing the ball. Because I know that I am confident that the only thing that gets something to move is with a force that pushes. So there's a force that's pushing the ball down. In fact, he called it gravity. He measured how fast it was pulled, but never was able to explain why it happened. How is it? What is gravity? It's this. Everybody says, well, why did the ball fall to the ground? Because gravity took it. But what's gravity?
Physics lesson from Jeffrey Epstein is a vibe. I know, right? It's actually crazy. I would actually watch like hours of him just talk like this. It's more like Masonic-esque shit, not necessarily supernatural. Jeff talks about alchemy. Pythagoras talks about it. Scientists of yesterday, like thought as philosophers, not mathematicians. Yeah, well, I think he's just Jewish. Like, I don't fall into it's all satanic. I know everyone says it's satanic PDFs. I just say they're Jewish because that's what they are. And they're kind of worshiping the devil or devils in a way. That is what it is. They're worshiping the devil or the demons, and they're Jewish, right? You can create gold in a particle accelerator. It costs so much to produce so little. Yeah, it's really in the energy costs, right? Once you start figuring out like, oh wow, we could do so much if we just had more energy. We could do ridiculous stuff if we just had more energy. We go with the speed of light if we just had enough energy, but we don't.
That's, as Feynman would say, that's the name of the thing. We have no idea what it is. This goes to Santa Fe. They were trying to explain the unexplainable. Can we measure? Can we figure out a way to predict the stock markets using these types of chaos complexity.
Before we get there, let's
We use quantum physics to predict the stock market. I mean, that is some umpteenth level of just number changing. I mean, we're getting to the subatomic, some Kabbalah beliefs. Absolutely right, Kittens for guys. This is definitely some babblations right here. When you're doing the money changing on a subatomic level, like he's talking about here, that is beyond, bro. Like, depart from me.
walk back through it. Let's go back to Newton.
Sure.
Pre-Newton and then Newton. What did Newton solve that for millennia up to Newton had not been solved? And then I want to go forward all the way to Santa Fe, what they were trying to solve. Let's start with just 2 or 3 of the basic guys, but let's go with Newton. What pre-Newton it was what, and then why is Newton such a
genius?
in such a in the, I think mathematically they told me one time I've seen there's been 115 billion people roughly that have lived on the earth. And of that 115 billion, Newton.
Are you sure that's a number? That sounds a lot very high. We only have 7 now.
I think in the history of the earth, I think
It might be worth $1, but when I observe it, it's worth $1,000. Brother, welcome to fractional reserve banking. That's exactly what the point he's getting at right here. Exactly. No one understands subatomic physics. No one understands our fractional reserve banking system. How does the concept of the Ouroboros relate here? I don't know. Did they bring it up?
so. I'll pull up the stat for you, but I think it's 115 billion people. They figure
That probably is inflation. That's why you see.
have lived on Earth. But he's one of the handful of the most important. What did he solve for? Why is he so important for how we live today? And then we want to go through Leibniz and the other 2 or 3 other major ones to get us to Santa Fe.
Well, it's a long journey.
This is the heart of what we're trying to do.
Let me take a bit of a detour just
Okay.
a second. What if you went to high school and the last year in your high school, you took calculus? So Isaac Newton sort of invents calculus. Well, that sounds invents. You know, mathematicians.
To torture seniors in high school before they graduate.
Yes, but obviously no. Yes, the answer is yes. Certain people could never do calculus.
Why is that? Why is calculus so? Why is that the dividing line between, to me, people who can handle that and can go on to do certain things, and people just hit the wall?
Certain people, they can't do calculus. Knowing how racist against blacks he was about IQ, and like when he talks about black people, that's actually what he's thinking, but he won't say it in the interview. When you read the emails, he is constantly talking. He really does not like black people. There's one thing about Jeffrey Epstein you learn from the emails. He is talking about the crime in the city. He's talking about the low IQ of Africa and just black Americans. It's pretty ruthless. He's using the N-word relentlessly next to Goyim, but he uses Goyim much more.
Even if they know math, it seems to me that
Certain people I know.
that calculus is the thing that changes. It bridges. That's because it's about the theory of change and the theory of how things change.
It's a great question, but in fact, what calculus does is it's somewhat philosophical. That's why mathematics is they used to. Newton wasn't a mathematician; he was called a geometer. That's what they used to call themselves. They understood geometry and numbers.
That sounds hard. I'd rather call myself a geometer. Geometer sounds way harder than mathematician.
But there's an old conundrum where it says during Pythagoras' days, Zeno's paradox it's called, where they said, well, if the wall is 2 feet away from me, and I take one step that's halfway to the wall, that'll be 1 foot away. And if I take another step that's half again, that'll be half a foot away, and then a quarter of a foot. I could walk forever but never touch the wall. Doesn't sound realistic, doesn't make any sense in our real lives of the physical. But what Newton understood is many problems were like that. Many things approached the wall, or in calculus, approached the limit, but never really reached it. So he said, it's okay, you don't have to reach it. We can do lots of the mathematics as if it was so close, it was almost there. And we could do lots of mathematics almost being at the limit. And this is really important, Steve, for today. Because most of the science up until today was things that are starting to approach the limit. You were taught in high school.
He watched a Vsauce video. I mean, I think he's actually smart. I think Epstein was a Chauncey and he was misrepresenting his actual knowledge and expertise. But I think he has a genuine interest in all of these things. And that has to do with his efforts in transhumanism. I want to get Epstein merch from Nick Fuentes' store. Fuentes.store, guys. Fuentes.store. I ordered my stuff. It takes, I think, 2 to 4 weeks to ship because there's a huge amount going out. But yeah, support Nick, guys. Fuentes.store. Get your merch. Just don't get it from Purge Viral. So yeah, totally, I agree. The Ouroboros is self-devouring snake, much like the human seen on screen. I mean, sort of, yeah.
That if you had 1 divided by 0, if you remember your high school algebra, you were told, what's the answer to that? Is there an answer to 1 divided by 0? No, if you were in high school, I'd say, stay away from it. It's the boogeyman. You could write it down as it's undefined. It's not able to be determined. There's a bunch of things. But in fact, 1 divided by 0 is a strange things happen. It's a world of the strange. And what I'll explain to you after is that when you get 1 divided by 0, you get into a world we don't know what happens. The answer is it's not explainable. We can call it things like undetermined. We can have a convention to say it's X, Y, or Z. But in real life, we don't know what happens when you are actually at the limit.
Yeah, so, you know, I have cursory, like, understanding of the basic things that he's talking about. So, just an example, right? Like, what is the smallest measurable distance, right? If you go way beyond, you know, nanometers and all that, the smallest measurable distance is called the Planck length. Now, it's called the Planck length because it's, you know, discovered by a guy named that, by Planck, but he basically came to the conclusion that once you go beyond this distance, this extremely, you know, small distance, the smallest known measurable distance, all of our understandings of physics just break down. Nothing works anymore, which is, you know, the defining line, basically, in reality. At that point, you know, you've entered a new reality, was getting at.
So that's Newton thought the same concept, is that the limits were God.
And there's a bunch of things, right? Like the Planck length is just represented by H. There's like, you know, I represents an imaginary number, a number that exists in, you know, the 4th or 5th dimension. You know, there's pi, which, you know, is the, you know, ratio, the circumference of a circle, right? Pi, mathematicians, human beings still do not understand why pi exists, why a circle is what a circle is.
You got close to God, but you can never be God. It had this sort of religious interpretation.
Okay, I want to go back to Newton. Why is Newton such a big dividing line in mankind's history? What is it about Newton? What is it about what he's trying to solve? What did they not know beforehand? And because we live to a degree in a Newtonian universe, although I realized later subparticle atomic physics, but at least for a while it was Newtonian. So what's the dividing line? Why is he so important? Why is he an inflection point in mankind's movement from the swamp to the stars?
It's a great question. Stars was by Kepler. What Newton starts to allow us to do is to make accurate predictions. Remember that we've talked about that with money, about the things in our physical world. How
3.14159, and they keep fucking reciting who can recite the most amount of pi. That's giga geeky. Yes, and Max Planck is the guy who discovered it. Thank you, Kittens, for Christ.
Cars, but he didn't have cars. How horse carriages moved, how bowling balls moved, how pool cues and pool pool table balls.
Had people tried to solve that before Newton?
Many.
Tried it?
Of course, dude, Steve, come on. People have been thinking about fluid physics since ancient times. You just didn't really have language to talk about it.
Heraclitus
or instruments.
Or you know, Plotinus, Pythagoras had these greats that we hear about, had they tried to solve the same problem?
Not the same problem. They try to, again, what Pythagoras does, he starts to figure out this relationships in triangles. For example, everyone knows the a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, that Pythagorean theorem, which is basically says these shapes in a triangle, each side of the triangle has a fixed relationship with the other two sides. That's strange. He knew, again, but it was all numbers. This was a system of things in the physical world, and Pythagoras says we can start putting numbers on things that help you predict how they will behave. You can add two triangles and make a square, some different shapes. They were looking at geometric forms. Newton says, well, I want to know how planets move. I want to know how things around me move. Can we find formulas? Can I find formulas that explain what I see in the physical world, how physical things interact and how they describe one another? Again, the fact that two things, two solid masses, for some very strange, unknown reason, unknown today, attract one another, no matter what they are. People have seen the experiment. You hang something, two little metal balls from a string, they move towards each other. In fact, they move towards each other was very specific. So when you drop the ball to the floor of this room, Newton says, in fact, the room came up a bit to meet the ball.
Yeah, he's just talking about gravity, right? For every action, there's a reaction. So, I mean, no matter how small something is, it's going to exert some influence on the other object. It's just the way gravity works, no matter how small it is. He's wearing $16,000 Cartier buffs.
The room moved. It's imperceptible.
Oh, his glasses. Yeah, I mean, of course, bro. Big Steen's got to wear nice shades.
You can't really perceive that motion, but they attracted each other with certain ratios. So he started to be able to measure things in the physical world. And that was great advances. It also, now you wanted to move very quickly. Unfortunately, most people, especially in the 20th century, 19th century, said, well, like Newton, let's measure everything. Let's measure people's behavior. Let's measure their psychology. Let's measure their health. You go to we could have my blood test. Let's measure everything. We measure Wall Street.
Their voting habits.
Measure, measure, measure. Can we put a number on how much I care for my wife? Can I put a number on how I feel? And we tried, unfortunately, we try to mathematize the finer things in life.
Yeah, he's talking about the spiritual now. I think he's getting to the fact that I think Epstein believes in the soul right here is what he's getting at. I think he believes that there is something that is quote unquote divine. I don't think he is necessarily like sided with God though at all. He is Jewish. He rejects Christ. In fact, from what we see, they were, desecrating all sorts of Christian symbols in the Epstein files.
And then recognized that there was things that unfortunately just fall outside. Schrodinger wrote a very famous book about what is life. He was trying to figure out a way, can he describe the difference formulaically between things that are alive and things that are dead? The answer is no. The things that are alive in my world are miracles, not magic. Magic has a...
Yeah, so him being quote unquote demonic or worshiping the devil, it doesn't actually take away from him believing in miracles whatsoever. Miracles can be done by angels and can be done by demons, right? I mean, there are, clearly there can be bad miracles that take place, and there, that's essentially what a demon does, right? I mean, he's basically a devil worshiper. He is Jewish. He follows the Talmud. He's clearly a Jewish supremacist, but this goes to show whatever they're worshiping at the heart of Judaism is very rotten, because his conception of the divine is quite twisted. But I think he's also getting towards something of fine tuning. He definitely believes in some kind of fine tuning, some kind of intelligent designer here.
Bad connotation.
We
trying
don't
to
believe
hide
in
things.
you don't believe in the spirit or the soul. That's what animates people, is your spirit or your soul. That's
No.
Have you ever seen someone die? When they die, their spirit leaves.
Their soul leaves, no question. So in
There's
fact,
no question to you about
no
that.
question.
There's no question to you that there is some animating life force within us that leaves when you're dead.
Yes, in fact, I refer to the soul. This obviously a certain The questions in the past, even
Because
during
people would normally think you were soulless.
Interrupting Big Steen 24/7, bro. Like, let the guys cook, bro. Not gonna lie, though, he was better Peter Thiel than Peter Thiel is. Thiel wants to be this guy so bad. True, dude. Peter Thiel does not have. I mean, I'd say this that you lose a bit of aura by hearing the Jewish accent, but he still has more aura than Thiel. Newton's third law for sure.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, like Newton came up with so much stuff, bro. He's got 3 laws. That's crazy.
Have you just no?
more?
Have you talk about you actually believe in it, and have done some thinking about it? Is pretty shocking in its own right, isn't it?
Well, again, mathematics, Leibniz thought.
You know, Newton was at Cambridge, and he was the head of the math department, right? He's a professor. So
Thiel has no aura for real. Thiel is gay. I mean, gay men have no aura whatsoever.
Leibniz, who was Leibniz a German professor?
Yes, but what Leibniz said is the soul is so strange because God took chemicals, which is simply the material, like tables, and he somehow made this material able to have a thought. How strange is that? Not only does it have a soul, but this some way it was put together that this material substance is able to think. So when you say to me, it's obvious to everyone that there's such a thing as a soul. Now, if you're part of the Charlatanville, you'll try to explain it to people. The soul I describe as the dark matter of the brain. Why is it dark matter? Because in high energy physics nowadays you hear terms of dark matter, dark energy. Again, terminology, it's a complicated term. Why is it dark matter? Because we can't see it.
Yeah, so the reason he's getting to the point, dark matter, dark energy, the reason they are called these things is because scientists lack an explanation for the expansion of the universe, for instance. Why does our universe expand at the speed? Why is it a growing rate of speed? These kind of questions, scientists really have no answer. What is the energy behind the universe expanding? No one knows.
That's all. What do you mean you can't see it? Well,
Thiel's pretending he's a philosopher. I read Gerard Epstein. Let me explain metaphysics real quick. It's so true. He was trying to tell us black folks.
Somehow we see something moving towards this area of darkness. Something, I can see this thing. This appears to me to be empty. It's just black. But I see it being drawn this way. So I say, well, I know if this were matter, that would follow that equation. If this was solid, it would explain the way this particle moves. But I can't see anything here. So I'll just call it dark matter. And I'll say, I don't know what it is, but it behaves as if there was something there. The soul is obvious to everyone that there's something different between things that are alive and things that are not alive. But we have no idea what it is. It's currently unexplainable. I believe we need an entirely different system of analysis to try to figure out.
So you might ask, like, well, how do we know that dark energy is out there, although we can't measure it, we can't see it, we can't even explain it through equations? It's like, well, we can look at stars, we can look at objects like galaxies, stars, quasars, all sorts of things that are extremely far away, billions of light years away. And we can measure the light that is coming off of them, and we can see that that light has been stretched and turned red. It's shifted red. It would have came off of that star looking blue, and it's traveled so much farther and it's basically been stretched over space-time that it is turned red. It's called redshift. And so it's how astronomers actually measure very extremely distant objects, and it's actually how we can measure the universe itself.
But
Sorry.
No, with Newton, with all his alchemical study, alchemical.
Do you think Epstein is telling truth or believes in what he's talking about, or bullshitting? Sounds like, should we listen to financial wisdom? He's into transhumanism. I think he's putting on, he's being a Chauncey about his knowledge, about his wisdom when it comes to these scientific things, but I think he has a genuine interest.
Studies and things he worked on the spiritual side. Leibniz that just talked about the soul. Schroeder talked about what is life. If a modern scientist or someone that you funded at MIT or at Harvard or one of these things talked in those types of terms, they would be considered to be a wingnut today, wouldn't they? They would not be on the path for tenure, right?
Unless they were in the philosophy department.
This is exactly my point. We're talking about three of the greatest mathematicians in mankind's history that have really changed mankind. Talking like this, what happened? How do we get to a situation where they could not be in the high physics, they could not be in the mathematics department or working in high energy physics?
Good, it's an easy answer. Newton was a combination of mathematician, or geometer then, and philosopher. And as time went on, those disciplines seemed to move apart. We had philosophy. Some of the philosophers can't do math, and some of the mathematicians. And again, mathematicians often break into two categories. People that solve problems. Those are more like geometers in the old days, just problem solvers. And then there's thinkers, theoreticians. They're more like the old movement towards philosophy. But neither one of those two groups have been able to figure out why something is alive as opposed to something that's not alive. No one's been able to describe what the soul is, but we all know it exists. And I think what we need is science is a bad word. I think science only describes the things we already know about the physical world. In fact, there's an argument that the physical world that we see has been created out of our systems of mathematics. Mathematics, everyone knows mathematics describes the physical world much greater than it should, unless my view, the physical world really comes out of conscious beings that have mathematics. So they create it. This table appears to you and I to be solid. To a bat, because we have light that's bouncing off the table into our eyes, it appears solid. If instead of eyes that responded to wavelengths of visual light, our eyes responded to radio waves.
Transhumanism, here we go, turning you into a robot. This is exactly what he was into, guys. He wanted to live forever. He wanted to replace your body parts with all sorts of technology. If you could turn your eyes from seeing visual light to seeing radio fields, I mean, yeah, you would see quite a bit more. He is right, but this is totally transhumanism.
The radio frequencies, it's not different. It's the same type of frequency as light, but different speeds.
Yeah. The
table's invisible.
So put it like this. A lot of the pictures that you would see of the night sky are taken in different light spectrums. So for instance, I'm amateur into telescopes, right? Like to say, pretty fun. Your naked eye only sees a very small, narrow band of light. So when you look up at the night sky, your naked eye is really only seeing a very small selection of what is actually out there in the full light spectrum. A lot of the deep space photos that you would see taken from, for instance, the James Webb Space Telescope or the Hubble Space Telescope, if you were to view the light directly coming off of those, it would look pretty grayscale actually to you. What they do is they take extreme amounts of exposures, like many minutes, very long, and then they'll take all those exposures through different wavelengths and then combine them all, usually in an image editor. It's not fake and gay. It's absolutely real. If you know anything about astrophotography, you know space is absolutely real. The photos that are taken of space take a lot of work to create, to make them actually pop and look good. But what you do see is that it is real. When you're a amateur telescope user, you can find these objects, you can see them, and they're quite beautiful.
We know that our phone works in this room. So the waves are coming through the windows, the waves are coming through the walls. So the walls are invisible to that type of radiation, that type of energy. The walls I can see them because my eyes, a physical system determines that the walls are there.
You, with Murray Geldman, you founded, or were the original donor, and had the idea of Santa Fe Institute. In 10 or 15 years later, that effort to study the complexity of systems mathematically.
Yes.
Was
it's a total failure. Yes.
A total failure.
Total failure.
Why is that?
Is this where the trans movement stems from? No, transhumanism is moving beyond being a human being and basically being a cyborg.
It's the failure of science because, in fact,
It's immortality.
if to some extent science doesn't describe romance. I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. I don't know. People are attracted to each other, and everyone has the same feeling. They've seen someone walk in the room, and they say, "Oh, that person gives me a creepy feeling." Science has tried to describe. Science doesn't describe what creepy feelings means. They just know it's a creepy feeling. I think
That face. Oh man, he's talking about being a creep. I mean, he's talking about creeping people out. That's what he's talking about. Oh my god. It's so mask off. He's literally I mean, I think he gets off on creeping people out. I think that's a part of his boogeyman. He's talking about being a boogeyman, essentially, right?
women, as I said the last time, have an intuitive.
Trans is the Trojan horse for transhumanism. Well, yeah, because transgenderism essentially wants to, I'm sure Epstein was into the rebus. If you guys know anything about the rebus, it's basically a superhuman. You basically do some alchemy, some magic, whatever, science. You either do magic or you do science, and you basically fuse men and women into the same being. So you basically create what's called a rebus. It's ancient, like for instance, in medieval Europe, there was, I think it was called the White King and the Red Queen was a very popular story. The plot of, the game Elden Ring that came out a few years ago is basically about a rebus.
Intuitive sense. What is intuitive? They have intuition, they have feelings, and they're able to deal in the realm of things that men, especially men like myself, find unexplainable. Women have intuition. Men see things a bit differently. Men want to measure everything.
Yeah, and women do have intuition. This is true. Like, as much as, we get on the misogynist Nick Fuentes train. Just kidding. We love women. Not a misogynist. But, men and women are different, for sure. Earth is flat, brother. Get with the program. Drink raw milk. Get with the drink raw milk before bed. True.
Women are not
That's hilarious, bro.
really that interested in measuring.
In what you're saying in macro terms, you actually think science, mathematics, maybe ultimately technology is moving to that more intuitive.
I think science and math are old-fashioned. And unfortunately, people are still taught that they have to learn algebra in school and certain things in school, as opposed to learning to have an emotional.
Is this what Larry Summers was trying to get at? Maybe he didn't say it perfectly enough, but what he was trying to get to in that system, the systems we study today, the way mathematics is either taught or understood, that women just haven't gotten up to the highest realms of engineering or physics or mathematics because of that. And you're actually implying that there's a either new branch of science, or we've hit an inflection point like in Newton that's going to go in a. Newton took mankind in a different direction because he was able to measure. Then you had subatomic, non-Newtonian physics later. Are you saying that you think there's another developing field that's coming up that may take us, I don't know how many decades to get our hands around, but that's what's evolving out of this?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think that mathematics, it's not the end of science. Every year someone says it's the end of, we can't discover everything. There's lots to discover with relationship to the physical world, but we know a lot already. In respect to the unexplainable world, we almost know nothing. Women, again, sense it. And instead.
Yeah, so this is a thing that I think I've talked about on the show, but women have more intuition than men in some aspects of life that we don't generally think about. Like men, we go out into the world, we're very mechanical minded, we have better motor control, and we can think in numbers and a lot of different things, right? We're very physical. Women have a deep intuition about people. They have an emotional intelligence that men oftentimes lack. And I think what Epstein's getting at here, something that I've talked about before, is that the veil between the seen and the unseen, it's thinner for women. This is why it's, we often say, like, that women can be oftentimes more susceptible to evil stuff, to whether somebody's practicing witchcraft or whatever, right? Women can generally be more susceptible. I mean, they're generally more open. Men, we tend to, and there's also, you can anecdotally look at this through history. Why did pagans choose priestesses oftentimes? Why were pagan societies oftentimes have priestesses or shamanesses over male priests? You know, it's the fact that women bring life into the world. It does say something about, you have to think about it spiritually. Like, what does that mean? And for me, at least personally, I do believe for women that between the seen and the unseen, there's much less of a barrier, if you will, between that than there is for men. For men, we have to work on that. You know, we really got to try, you know, to interact with that kind of whatever you want to call the beyond. You know, we have to put in a lot of effort, really.
Of Larry Summers, I won't digress too much, but Howard Gardner early on said, there's not one form of intelligence. It's not mathematical intelligence. There's emotional intelligence, this kinesthetic intelligence. You know, there's this argument that I reject that black people are less intelligent than white people. It's not true. We know, for example, that if I was in the forest and I had to run from the lion or figure out a way not to be eaten, and my competition is a local African, I'm the one who's getting eaten because they have the intelligence to deal with their local environment.
In the emails, he's like, more N-words equals more murders, LOL. he's a completely different person in the emails. I swear to God that real Irish women can see straight into your soul with zero effort, like it's in their genes. It's beautiful. Brother, that's called a banshee. If you see a banshee, bro, you're about to die.
So it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, but there's many differences amongst different types of people. And so people have different intelligences, and they excel in some intelligences usually, and less so in others.
When did it come to, because the world of high finance is a world of pure reason, or is it a lot of emotion and gut checks and you know?
Listen, men are still smarter than women. I'm never giving that up. This is why, you know, men will always be on top. Always know that, ladies.
On trading desk and
pause. I mean that in like the most family-friendly way.
Central bank.
Patriarchy. Absolute patriarchy. The men, we run society. But the women, they are more easily interactable with God in a way. It's easier for a woman really to interact with the divine in a way.
When these
giving
decisions
birth,
get
right?
made, is it that high church, like the high church of science of high energy physics, or is it as much emotion that comes in as much as the mathematics and the reason?
It's a great question. I think if you talk to really experienced and successful traders and you ask them how they know what's going on, they can't give you an answer. They don't know. They feel it. They can feel the way the market's moving. They can feel the way the stock's moving. And that these are not very well-defined terms. It's difficult to put in mathematics terms. How did I feel it? You could look back and make guesses what I was seeing. But great traders feel it and then act on their feelings. That's the difference. Many people feel it but are afraid because they want a mathematical justification before they take that next.
Crazy that Tucker is married, bro. You're cooking.
When you first got on the trading desk at Bear Stearns in the late 70s.
Is Tucker in the files? I feel like Tucker would be a kind of guy that would pop up in the files, right? Has anyone Googled that?
Mid-70s. Were you shocked by how little actual understanding of mathematics that the traders comprehended?
Yeah, well, again, we had a Texas Instrument calculator. Most stockbrokers, especially before 1975, if they were good stockbrokers, could add.
Bro, he's talking about having a calculator in the 70s and 80s. You were really ahead if you had a calculator. Women are exactly the way Yakub designed them to be. I mean, listen, bro, we owe it all to our creator, Yakub, who created us in a laboratory as ice dwellers, you know?
That's about it. They could multiply. If you could multiply, you were already in the top 15% of stockbrokers.
Devilish what Yakub did to black men, tempting them with snow bunnies. Absolutely dreadful, brothers. Absolutely dreadful.
Stockbrokers simply meant there's a story. When I went to the first person, I had no money. And I said, how much money do you make a year? And he said, $400,000. I said, impossible. I'm making $10,000.
That's probably more than your family had made in its entire
Life.
existence.
Yes. And he makes it in a year. I said, what do you do? And he said, it's too complicated for you to understand. Which is what the main thrust of Wall Street people, they want to tell you it's too complicated. Because if you understood that that person was simply, he had a brother-in-law, in fact, in this case, who ran the pension fund at General Motors. His brother-in-law would call him and say, buy 1,000 IBM. He'd hang up the phone, he'd write it out on a ticket and walk it to a window.
So Jewish, bro. It's nepotism, bro. It's who you know. They look out for each other. He's talking about people on Wall Street, talking about how they look out for each other. He's not talking about you, the goyim, the nations. He's geeking out on a graphing calculator. Absolutely. They made our women wear Cookie Monster pants and eat hot Cheetos. Oh,
that was his entire skill set.
I don't even want to think of that.
Hello, write what my brother-in-law says, walk it to a ticket window.
Like, if you wear Cookie Monster pants and eat hot Cheetos, I mean, you're cooked as a woman, bro. Like, that's worse than smoking weed.
Give me an example when you were on the trading desk in the early days of Bear Stearns of a time that you felt either complete uncertainty or you saw total panic, where something was happening that people couldn't foretell, and that they were like in an airplane cockpit where it's going wrong. Walk us through that.
In 1978, I think it was, across the news wires, there had been a collapse of the currency in Thailand. On the other side of the world, had no relationship to me. I wasn't sure where Thailand was. But the fact that a currency, a country's money, had all of a sudden dropped tremendously in value, affected the rest of the world's markets. And people panicked because they'd never seen that before. A very small part of a very complex system had a shock throughout the whole system. So prices on Park Avenue apartments, the bond markets, the stock markets, everything started to gyrate. You know, there's an old mathematics.
Everything started to gyrate. Everything was gyrating.
Mathematical expression that if a butterfly wings in Mexico make the wrong turn, it spins out, and eventually, by the time it gets to Canada, it turns into a tornado. So these are part of complex systems.
By the way, Canada denied him entry multiple times over his convictions.
So yeah, Wall Street in certain parts.
Santa Fe Institute was supposed to actually come up with a formula for that, for the butterfly wings. Why in 15 years did you reach the end of at least that experiment?
Every attempt to, that's why it's so exciting now, because I think certain people are starting to realize that there's so many things that are unexplainable that we have to think about them differently. Music is a great example. It's a common man's example. You know, when you hear a certain song, it makes you feel a certain way. How does it do that? We don't know. We can't mathematize it. And even that music, Steve, nowadays we compress music. When you have a violin, it's compressed onto your iPhone. So what does compression mean? I'm taking lots of information and I'm cutting it into lots of pieces and squishing it together. And when I squish it or compress it, I have to take out lots of pieces, but I say that they're not very important pieces. It's those pieces that we take out when we compress data, to me, are the most interesting parts of life.
It's like, bro, he is such a ridiculous Chauncey. What he just said is like the most pretentious thing possible. Okay, basic music theory. Yeah, music is ethereal. Music is, quote unquote, some have called it an alchemy because you can't touch music theory. It's, it's ephemeral. It's not something that you can hold, but you can sure write it down. You can sure put it through a computer. You can sure show me the sound waves. You can measure the pitch frequency. You can measure their harmonics. In fact, you can measure it all down perfectly mathematically. There's all these ratios. In fact, pitch is pitch for a reason. It's perfect, right? This idea of, you're losing something with compression. It's like, Bro, these are things that the human ear can barely even make out. So like, what is he even talking about? Rick Beato, 1 4 5 6 chord progression. I mean, yeah, bro. I joke with people when I'm trying to teach them music for whenever I am, which is pretty rare. But whenever I do teach somebody music, I'm like, yeah, like music is not like this hard science thing. You just kind of make it up. Music theory is just made up as you go along. And so I get what he's trying to say here. He's like kind of saying that we just make stuff up and we just put labels on it, even though we don't even really understand what it is. Music's kind of a bad example to do that, though, because we scientifically understand a lot of music, how it works on the brain. And we know what the chord progressions do. There's a lot of work put into easy chord, like you just pointed out, chord progressions, having like a 1 4 5 6 chord progression, having these like formats like ready made, these like templates. It's like, no, there's people creating these things and people studying, well, how do I make the most romantic song? How do I make like the hardest like hitting metal song?
You just said a while ago, part of this new search for science may go back to when people were actually talking about a soul, and you said there's no doubt in your mind that there is a soul. Describe for me what you mean by that. What do you mean by soul? What do you mean soul different than the physical analog body that we're seeing on film right now?
It's difficult to describe in words. I mean,
I knew Burger King Reich. I knew you were talking about Epstein, bro.
I'm not a poet. Poems get a little closer to what that really means. But even the concept of what is life becomes complicated when you deal with plants and seeds. Is a seed alive? I don't know. Certain people would say, no, it's dead. When you're a banana, one of my favorite examples is the banana that's sitting on the countertop in your kitchen today. Is it alive or dead?
What do you think about human life? What is human? Tell me about human life.
But your banana is alive. That banana is breathing. It's on your. You say that's impossible, Jeffrey. No, it's not.
Is the banana conscious?
All these words. These are words. So everyone's trying to fit a very complicated concepts into a very small box.
Well, it's just a reproductive like organ of the plant that's bearing seeds. Like, it's technically like the seed is not really alive, right? Like, it's organic material. It's not really breathing. It's the banana is just oxidizing like on your countertop. So he's just a total Chauncey.
Called conscious or alive. These don't fit in that way. So if you put your banana in a bag and put another fruit in with it, the fruit ripens faster because the banana breathes with it. We don't understand most of those things.
What are you talking about? We don't understand it, dude. It's like fruit oxidizing is something what human beings, we totally understand that. It's like, that's a pretty basic science to understand how fruit goes bad.
So you asked the question. Sorry.
You talk about the life. What about human life?
What about it?
Tell me what do you think? What do you think human life is?
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. And when I say miracle, I can't explain it, and I make no attempt to explain it at the moment. We don't know how to think about it. And it's again another one of the Feynman quotes when he was talking about quantum physics. He said, anyone, Jeffrey, who says they understand quantum physics and quantum mechanics and quantum behavior, you know they're lying.
Let's talk about it. That's post-Newtonian. Talk about what's the difference. Who founded quantum mechanics? Why is quantum mechanics taking Newtonian physics and taking it to the next level?
It forms a much broader category.
Let's go back to this desk. You use the thing of Newton using this desk. Why can't Newton's theory explain everything? Why did subatomic quantum mechanics or quantum physics have to come in to explain this?
Well, so let's go right back to square one. Why is it called quantum physics? So quanta is a word that simply means packet, small amount. So it's quantized. So when we recognize that this table appears, another very complicated word, solid to us, it's really made up of molecules or atoms. And atoms, we've given lots of names to what some of the behaviors. If you were in school, when you and I were in school in the 50s, the model was a little center thing in the middle, and an electron went around and around it. It was seen as a ball that went around and around it. And as we start to look at, say, Well, let's see what this ball looks like. I want to be able to examine that little thing called an electron. We found that there was nothing there. There wasn't the thing. It was simply a cloud of energy that we can call an electron. So we already started to see mysterious things as we go into very super small quantities, quantum physics. So quantum physics started to go into the very small, and at very small distances, we see things that we can't explain. We just cannot explain.
How am I doing on time?
4 minutes.
Fine.
And to summarize, no, sorry.
Let's go back to human life. When do you think human life starts?
It's not these. So you see, this is the question. You're asking me to measure something again. It's the disease.
It can't be measured. You just hate making commitments.
That's why I'm not married.
I'm peeling this onion back a layer at a time. All your bullshit and happy target can't be measured like that. Is that to say measure it's a commitment. You don't even like a commitment when you answer a question.
Steve Bannon is so on point for this, bro. Like, Steve Bannon is actually the good guy for doing this interview. I think, like, he exposed so much by this interview. Now, a lot of people called him to put out this interview a lot earlier, which I get it, totally. Was it in his control, really, to put it out? Probably, right? He should have probably put it out a lot earlier. But it's out now, and we're seeing quite a side. This is really quite illuminating.
I don't
As
know.
they say in golf, commit to the shot.
I don't know what it means to be measured.
You do know what it means to be measured. You're one of the leading currency traders, hedge fund guys, or stock market finance.
How is he teaching kids at a private school without a college degree in education? I know, right? He sounds like he's totally... It sounds like he's doing sort of like a bit. Like he has done this bit where he talks and puts on this character of I know what I'm talking about. He's done this act before in front of people.
Financial wizards. You're in the high priesthood of
Privilege,
high finance.
yep.
You certainly know how to measure. That's why you're a billionaire. Any other answer besides that is total and complete bullshit. And you know it.
I know very few things.
You know things can be measured. You measure every day. You weigh and measure every day. You weigh and measure people. You weigh and measure leaders. You weigh and measure economies. You weigh and measure politics.
It's a very good.
You weigh and measure. You weigh.
Hang on.
Your whole life, in fact, is measuring.
So what you've now done is a great thing, is you've used the word measure, a mathematic term, in the common vernacular and abused it. So I don't even recognize what it means. It's so abusive to my field.
Why? And let's go to that. In mathematics, measure means what specifically?
There's no specific. It's an approximation, or giving something a number. If Einstein said,
we're not asking you to go to the ninth decimal point.
Oh, you didn't say that before.
No, you're not going to the ninth.
I don't even. What if I say measure how tall are you? You'd say in your case 6 foot.
6 feet.
But is it 6 foot 1 inch?
Give or take, between 5'11" and 6 feet.
But what's that? But I want. So the question is, I want an accurate.
I got Zeno's paradox.
I don't even know what it means to measure you. Am I measuring the top of your hair, the top of your skull, and the finer, the more
you're getting. That's.
We went from abortion and now we're talking about measuring people. Like, what? Go Bannon. Yeah, totally. I mean, I watch War Room. It's a really good show. You guys should check out War Room with Steve Bannon, because he is definitely underrated.
You're being rabbinical. This is like
I shaved my beard off. I used to be rabbinical.
No, my point is, isn't that going through the Torah where you're parsing every definition?
No, so,
however we broadly define measure, your life literally is about measurement, is it not?
It's about putting numbers on things so that I can try my best. You can call it whatever you like. If that makes you feel better.
What do you know?
No, I want to make you happy.
Back to your scientific inquiry.
No, even a number. People don't. A number is a complicated.
When did
thing.
you come? When did you come to this When did you come to this aha moment? Was when it was in your solitary confinement, when the biggest financial crisis in world history was going on in your 7x9 jail cell with your metal bed and your two brushes because you were a trustee with the brown uniform on, trustee spelled wrong? Is that the moment of clarity that you had about science and Newtonian physics and everything that we can measure is really not going to be the way we go forward? It's going to be much more esoteric, emotional intelligence thing. Was that your moment of clarity?
I wish it was, because it would make such a great story for this interview, but it's not. It's the fact that I lead such a privileged life to come across.
But when did you? If it didn't happen then, when did it happen?
Oh my god, the relentless interrupting of Big Steen is actually legendary. I mean, Steve Bannon is actually a total fucking giga chad for constantly interrupting this guy. Like, let's be real. Like, that is actually fire. You're constantly interrupting him. Let's go.
Or did it happen before?
I was going to hopefully get to the.
Okay.
I'm in a privileged position to have some of the world's smartest people come to my house and tell me what they think about different subjects. And I finally realized that the thing that they had most in common was there was this area, no matter how smart they were, that when I asked them the questions, they said they'd have to resort to a 500 or 1,000-year-old response to that question, which was, I don't know.
You know who else found that out? Socrates. That's what Socrates kept doing, right? Socrates kept asking all the experts. He would go through, question after question after question, and realize at the end they didn't really know. They really didn't basically understand what they were talking about.
And one of the things that people won't enjoy, it turns out that potentially one of the bad things to teach children is how to write. It's writing, reading, and arithmetic was supposed to be, everyone's supposed to be taught. But writing forces you into a very narrow channel of thinking. You have to write in a certain form, in a certain way, in a certain linear pattern. So your thinking becomes somewhat narrow. The reason I brought up writing is one of the recent discoveries of mine with respect to Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle is they never wrote anything. They spoke, and people around who could write wrote.
Yeah, I get what he's trying to say here is that you kill the creativity by like drilling a system, and the system, your language shapes how you think. That's essentially it. If you talk to somebody who has English as a second language, you realize that certain concepts don't translate very well from English into other languages, right? Like I could give examples, but you know what I mean. It's how you conceive of words, how you structure languages. Basically, it informs how you think. So he basically illustrating like, are you by how you think, because how you think is informed by a lot of things, right? Like including your language, right?
Socrates could think.
Yeah, color outside the lines, basically. Yeah.
Jesus of Nazareth was the same way, right? Never wrote anything.
I thought he was a carpenter.
He was a carpenter.
Didn't he need like a little carpenter's tonight? I don't want to get that.
But at least his written record.
Right.
One last.
He doesn't want to get into it because he hates Christ. One thing we've learned from the files, he absolutely loathed Christ. I mean, in that regards, he was a loyal Jew. He was a faithful Jew in that regard. Hates Christ.
Thank you for having me to your house. Vegetable juice.
Let's go back.
Look what vegetable juice does.
When did that? The beginning of that. Was there any one aha moment in all these great thinkers? Did it happen before 2008? Was it after? That came up over, I know, many years. But when did you actually realize, hey, something new's got to be developed?
Yeah, that's great. Is that because again, I'm privileged enough to have people around me who've given lots of philanthropic gifts to institutions of higher learning, and when I said the impact, how do you judge the impact of your giving? And we sat down and said, no really new ideas have come out. And I realized that, of course, it hasn't come out because we've been looking at using science and mathematics, and it's the wrong tool.
This is what a lot of people have been saying, that no new ideas have come out, right?
It's obvious.
Institution.
Everyone has been saying that for a while, right? A lot of people have been saying that everything feels like stagnant and stuff. And he's kind of insinuating that, yeah, it is like a corruption at the core level of our civilization.
That are set
Did he
up
mention
and
Jews?
try to put forward knowledge and understanding and truth. Should they take your money?
Derek Bach at Harvard said, taking money for good causes is a good thing.
So if Hitler took all the gold out of the teeth of the Jews and said, I want to give this to Heidelberg University to fund the Leibniz chairs so that I can study high energy physics, Derek Bach would say that was fine?
Again, it's these questions are questions where good people on both sides, like your Charlottesville, could differ. I don't know the answer to this question.
Though you're good people in Charlottesville, they would differ. Yeah, well, your Jewish transhumanist conspiracy, whatever blackmail operation transhumanist agenda, you know, yeah, W gold teeth analogy. Yeah.
Tell us the two. Give us the two answers. What the one answer why it shouldn't be, and then the one answer. Derek Bach says, I'll essentially take cash from anybody because I got so many projects, so many good guys, and this is the way I'll do it. So I'm indifferent to where the cash comes from. Money's money. And if I got good guys, I'm the fiduciary that says these are good people and this is good research, okay? I'll take the cash from any source, including you. What's the other argument?
Let me give you that. I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
If you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think about, ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio.
Wow, he sounds just like Bill Gates. I know, great question, right? Yeah, bro, he sounds just like Bill Gates, and knowing how much he really was annoyed by Bill Gates, that's hilarious. Just seeing in the emails how he talks about Bill Gates, how Bill Gates comes off as a total rizless chud nerd. Ethics is complicated for him, absolutely. And it's a complicated thing. Ethics is a complicated system.
Ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
You're a mathematician. You're a mathematician. If we walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No,
I'm the lowest.
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them,
if I told them
the devil,
100%.
The devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody knows.
Smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the
Bannon is cooking right now. Bannon is absolutely cooking. Oh my God.
Rebellion is because he can't be the top guy, and his thing is I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
It's about being the top guy. Literally, it's all about being the top guy, bro. Bannon, let's go. Bannon, please run, bro.
Yeah, in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good.
Oh, that ended the interview right there. Oh my god. Damn, that ended it for Big Steen right there. He was done with that one. Okay, we'll end the recording there. Damn, I mean, what do we think of that one, guys? Is he still? Yeah, who thinks he's still alive? Let's be real. Who thinks he's still alive? Mike Pillow for VP. I don't know, bro. Oh, yeah, I love how Twitter is just, this is just what Twitter is absolutely full of right now. Okay, that's great. Yeah, Woody Allen. We knew Woody Allen was in deep. Yeah, I'm not really convinced that he's alive, to be honest. I'm not super convinced that he's alive. Bannon should be a prosecutor. I think Bannon should probably run for president. I mean, yeah, that's a good interview, though. Yeah, Murkai, dude. Oh, what a caricature. Ian, fuck, bro. You really had Ye's entire discography on standby in case he asked for something mid-performance. Yeah, you better have his entire discography ready. Absolutely. Who would want to keep him alive and capable of pulling him out of jail? Yeah, that seems to be like why, for me at least, why I don't think it's very likely that he's alive. There's just so much to lose by keeping him alive, right? Like, you see the files, you see the sheer amount of files, you realize, yeah, the kind of people that he implicated too. It's more of a question of who whacked him. I mean, he was killed in New York, and I don't know who's New York's home turf. You guys tell me, right? Who's in the files? Who's a big New Yorker that's in the files? Crazy he pardoned Kodak Black. I know, that's insane. Yeah, Trump has been pardoning rappers like crazy. NBA YoungBoy. He pardoned Lil Wayne a few years ago. Lil Wayne got caught on a private jet with like a bunch of guns and drugs. He hasn't pardoned 6ix9ine, but he pardoned NBA YoungBoy. Yeah. 6ix9ine is still in prison right now, isn't he? Too late for King Von. Yeah. Berlusconi. Yeah, King Von down bad. Is ASAP Rocky in the files, bro? Yeah, I've been loving the Ye's comeback, bro. The comeback shows have been absolutely fire. I have no idea who that is. Matthew and Ye. Yeah, so with like Bill Gates, he seems to be like a total Rizless chud. Total nerd. He gets billions of dollars and he still can't get laid. I don't know what the hell's wrong with that guy. Well, I know what's wrong. He's just repulsive to women. It goes to show, like, if you're still like ugly, if you're still like a total fucking like chud nerd, like Bill Gates, it really doesn't matter. You still need to pay to get laid, and that's the real black pill right there. If you're not mogging, I mean, truly, the fact that he got STDs from like Russian underage prostitutes, that's crazy. He pardoned Lil Pump for a B&E, did he? Looks maxing is everything. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I am kind of like looks pilled. You know, I do think that I do think you have to look your best pretty much at all times. Oh yeah, don't even show me pre-COVID prices on anything, bro. What is this?
20. Thank you, Oakland. I appreciate this shit. All the fucking hard work. 20 years of fucking working.
God damn.
This
Can't
is
show
y'all
blood
gave
on
me.
YouTube, can you? Gooners stay winning. Gooners are not winning, bro. Gonna meth max to get cheekbones. Now, I wouldn't like recommend you to do that, but I also wouldn't not recommend you to do that. So it's up to you, bro. I've never done amphetamines. I've never really done any uppers I can really think of. Cope? No, dude, gooning is loser shit. I mean, and goon if you want, bro. No one gives a fuck, but I don't know what you guys say gooning. Gooners stay winning. No one was really talking about that, bro. Oh, true. This is fire. This is what AI is trained for. This is crazy, bro. Jelly Roll look drained. Bro, what do they do to Jelly Roll? Girls pick up on Gooner energy? Absolutely. Just took a bong rip cope? Like, bro, please. Please, bro. This is fire, though, bro. More AI of this, please. This is legit. Can I play this game? Can this be like the new Street Fighter? This is sick. Tekken 3. Metal Gear Solid. Yo, bro, what's your take on men of color becoming your follower? Bro, I have like many many like friends of different races. In fact, my best friends are black and an Arab. So no, I mean, when it comes to races, bro, like, you know, I also have like many white friends, obviously. But you know, I talk about you know, the black man struggle, because the black man struggle is unique, brothers. It is absolutely a unique struggle. You must stay strong in the face of the snow bunnies, brothers. No, but it is like, I feel like you know, if you're black and you're following Blasphemer, bro, you're on the right path, bro. Um yeah, what can I say? God damn, the baby oil explosion. No. That's crazy. Whoa, whoa, my god, he summoned the Dharma wheel. That's crazy, bro. Now that's bro, come on, Tekken. Can we get the next Street Fighter like this, please? Absolutely insane, bro. So like constantly hitting like weapon arts. Mm. Oh yes. Yeah, yeah, bro. Could have saw that one coming, bro. Yo, I rate like French dudes in the 1800s, bro, or 1912, I guess. Same thing. I mean, boy, what a Chad. That's how you went out trying to fly. Oof, Dommied himself, bro. Honest though, like what the fuck? That's crazy, bro. I mean, look at this contraption. Like, what is, like, look at this. He expected to fly off of that? That's great. A for effort, absolutely, bro. What a Chad. You go out like that, I mean, let's be real. You go Dawkins, Richard Dawkins, right? I was telling my younger brother, because he makes fun of Amazing Atheist. He's really good at making fun of. You guys remember Amazing Atheist? I've told my little brother he's got to start reacting because he is very good at making fun of Amazing Atheist. Kanye is the best artist of all time. It's feasible, yeah. Damn, how you get Candace mad for it. Bro, Candace is not even that hot. Like, let's be real, bro. Ooh, new Lil Pump Sneeko.
You gotta hear how it sounds when it's on the song.
Let's go. Can we get copyright strike for this when they release the song? That would be gay. Amazing Atheist is beyond cringe. Absolutely. Original neckbeard. Yeah, man. Fuck Hassan. Hassan Piker, that's my number one op. Now that I'm out here view mogging, I'm gonna let you know. I'm coming for you, Hassan. Hassan, you're a dirty communist. All right? You know what? You know what we do to get dirty communists? I'm not even gonna say, okay? What's the guitar in your background? What's your favorite guitar you own? It's old Yamaha G50 from like the mid 90s. Something like that. Super old. It's older than me. My favorite guitar that I play, it's probably this black electric guitar that I got over here. It's been in a few videos. Just want to do like Hassan Mogs you. Not for very long, brother. Not for very long. He's still ducking the Sam Hyde fade. Absolutely. Yeah, he's ducking Sam Hyde, bro. And like, let's be real. He has to take on Sam Hyde. He's got to debate Fuentes again. You know, play E minor 11 chord, bro. Come on. I know how to play that. It's just at 11. I don't know, bro. You're gonna make me search for chords on stream. I'm not in the right mindset. I got to get playing. All right, that'll probably be tomorrow's stream. E minor at 11. Just add an F sharp on whatever E minor chord you're playing. Literally, just add a high F sharp on like whatever E minor chord you're playing. All right, I'm probably gonna get off soon, but I guess I could I'll leave you guys with like a little guitar, I guess, just before we get off stream, because you guys clearly want to hear before I get off here. So play a bit. Get this. Good. That's our sound, guys. there's a little bit of Pat Metheny, always and forever. You know, we like the jazz, you know, that kind of stuff. My cats do love my music. She'll probably come running as soon as she hears me play. I don't know, play a little bit more Pat, I guess. There you go. A little bit of September 15th. A little bit of Pat Metheny, Lyle Mays, you know. What else? What else? Thank you. Thank you, Beatbag. Guess we'll do a little Woven World before we get off. You guys can see. There. Woven world. Woven world. Reminds me of Pat Garrett and Billy T. Kid soundtrack. Beautiful. Thank you. and DC. And DC by Andrew York. And DC, named after a town in France. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. You guys are gonna squeeze another song out and make some in the mood. All right, the Beatles and I Love Her. All right. Well, that was certainly a fun time going over the big Epstein files with you guys. Play I'm Only Sleeping by the Beatles. When I wake up early in the morning. Go. Yeah. Yeah. It goes to yeah. Okay. I'm Only Sleeping. We'll get that another. Plus the backwards solo. I know. Yeah. I'll try to do a backwards solo at one point. All right, guys. I am hungry as hell. I'm gonna get some food, post McDonald's delivered, and post the VOD. So I'll see you guys next stream. Yeah, like the video. Check out Twitter. You know, I'm on X. You know where to find me. Blasphemer reacts, guys. Another successful stream. I'm out, guys. Good night. Adios. Indeed. Peace.